Finally tonight, on a very different note, a humanitarian tragedy is unfolding in a remote corner of South Sudan. It's the world's newest nation, just a year old after gaining its independence from Sudan. But tensions between the two countries have continued, and the Sudanese government in Khartoum has attacked African tribal groups who got trapped on the wrong side when the two countries split last July. Tens of thousands of refugees have fled the fighting. Jonathan Miller of Independent Television News reports from the border between the two countries.
The lumbering trucks look empty as they navigate the mud and the ruts. But they carry a hidden cargo. The people of Sudan's Blue Nile state are on the run from yet another deadly cleansing campaign waged by their president, Omar al-Bashir, already indicted on charges of war crimes and genocide. Déjà vu. For months, these survivors have hidden from al-Bashir's bombs and bullets in forests and caves, often with nothing to eat except leaves. Many reportedly died. These, the latest of 120,000 who fled into South Sudan, now nearing the end of their perilous journey, a refugee camp called Jamam.
These people are in a fragile state. They don't have much reserve. Even if you look at the adults, most of them are skinny. They have been walking for 6 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks. Did not have food, proper shelter, no proper drinking water for quite some time. So it's a very vulnerable group. And of course, it's always the little kids and the elderly that are the ones that suffer the most.
Excitement, relief, mixed with exhaustion, anxiety and confusion. This grim exile, their punishment for ending up on the wrong side of a line on a map when South Sudan split with Khartoum last July. But their tribulation does not end here, for Jamam is a dangerous sanctuary. Aid workers here say this is the worst place imaginable for a refugee camp to be. 40,000 desperate people dumped in a malarial swamp, where it floods when it rains and there's not enough water to drink. Among relief groups, there's now growing certainty that Jamam's on the brink of catastrophe. The mortality rate is double the threshold of what constitutes an emergency. 9 children die in Jamam every day, most from diarrheal disease. With more heavy rain expected, medics are preparing for the worst. What a place to end up when you're 90. Sanem Adam left her mountain village for the first time in her life when 2 of her sons were shot dead and her house was burned down by Sudanese forces. She's blind and can hardly walk, but she has walked for 2 months to get here. It's good you tell my story, Sanem said, so other people can know what they've done to us. She knows she will probably never see home again. No nice UN tents for new arrivals, just plastic sheets handed out by Médecins Sans Frontières. Without those, they'd have nothing. The UN Refugee Agency, UNHCR, wants to move these people on again, but they cannot go yet. The UN can't put up tents fast enough in the new camp, so they're stuck in the mud in Jamam. The UNHCR is now scrambling to get thousands of new arrivals out of here. But even when they're all gone, there will still be 35,000 people camped in Jamam's toxic mud lake.
I think it's absolutely top priority that large numbers of people are evacuated, I would say, out of Jamam. This is not a safe place for them to be. We are very worried about disease outbreaks. We need someone at a higher level to make a strategic decision to solve this problem once and for all, and that probably means moving most people out of Jamam, if not all.
These people are living in a very unlivable environment, and that their health is gravely affected because of it. But the question of why and how this happened is something you're going to have to ask the UNHCR.
The head of the agency's field office said he'd meet us at a new camp 40 miles away. I wanted to ask about Jamam and why it was a good idea to put a refugee camp in a swamp.
Well, obviously that wasn't a good idea. That wasn't, unlike here, it wasn't a planned camp. It was a self-created camp where refugees settled. And so de facto, it's a camp de facto rather than an organized planned camp.
But surely you had the chance earlier to move when it was predicted that it was very easily flooded and there wouldn't be enough water to sustain a population there.
That's correct, and we started to move people. Unfortunately, we had another influx, and those people needed to be prioritized because in the events of movement, the most vulnerable arrive the last.
But now they're all vulnerable. The chief of the Ingasana tribe, which makes up Jammam's population, is a refugee himself. He's bitter, but not at the UN.
I don't blame the UNHCR. I blame Omar al-Bashir, because if he hadn't shot and bombed us, we would have avoided all this. We are mountain people. The Ingasena people want to go home and find peace and finish this terrible war. Our hearts are broken.
At a fly-blown spot on the road towards the frontier, a new group has just crossed into South Sudan. On the other side, Omar al-Bashir's forces are still bombing, and these people say more refugees are heading this way.